Summer camp has been a staple of the American experience for generations. In 1977, however, summer camp took on a new and horrible connotation for many, thanks to one shocking triple homicide right out of a horror movie. It was the first day of camping at the Oklahoma Girl Scout Camp Scott, and by dawn, 3 schoolgirls were brutally raped and murdered. A true camp of horrors. Welcome back to True Stories. Let us explore the twisted fate that befell 3 innocent girls on their first day at what they expected to be the best experience of their lives. As always, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. June 12, 1977, was a rainy night at Camp Scott in rural Oklahoma. The camp was historic, founded 49 years before as one of the centerpieces of the Magic Empire Girl Scout Council out of Tulsa. The 410-acre compound sat between Snake Creek and Spring Creek just off Highway 82. It was the first day of camping, and a summer thunderstorm was thrashing the tents of a group of Girl Scouts from the Broken Arrow section of Tulsa. In Tent 8, the furthest away from the camp counselor, 3 young girls huddled together for comfort, writing letters in the dark. They were Lori Lee Farmer, 8 years, Michelle Heather Goose, 9 years, and Doris Denise Milner, 10 years. Lori was the youngest Girl Scout at the entire camp and was happy to meet new friends. One of 5 children, she was the daughter of Dr. Charles Bo Farmer and his wife Sherry. She couldn't decide between attending the Girl Scout camp or one sponsored by the YMCA. Sherry had decided for her daughter, and it was a decision she later would say she regretted for the rest of her life. Dear Mom and Dad and Miss T and Joe and Chad and Kathy. We're just getting ready to go to bed. It's 7:45. We're at the beginning of a storm and having a lot of fun. I've met 2 new friends, Michelle Goose and Denise Milner. I'm sharing a tent with them. It started raining on the way back from dinner. We're sleeping on cots. I couldn't wait to write. We're all writing letters now cause there's hardly anything else to do. With love, Lori. This would be the final letter from Lori Farmer. Meanwhile, Michelle had already attended the camp the previous year and was also excited to be returning. Described as athletic and active, she was enthralled by outdoor pursuits. It seems likely the other girls will have looked to her brief experience, particularly Denise Milner, who was overtly anxious over the trip. Denise's mother, Betty, said she was worried about attending and had almost decided she didn't want to go when she convinced her otherwise. The young girl was a straight-A student and had sold enough Girl Scout cookies to attend. After writing their letters, the 3 girls went to sleep as the rain continued to lash down. Partially obscured by the camp showers, nobody would see the horror to come. Around 6 a.m., camp counselor Carla Wilhite would discover the bound body of one of the girls wrapped in a sleeping bag on a trail some 150 yards from their tent. The other 2 bodies were found quickly afterward, one in the open and another also in a sleeping bag. All 3 young girls had been raped and bludgeoned before being strangled. Camp Scott would immediately become a major crime scene and was evacuated 4 hours later. They came under immediate criticism, ensuring that they called their insurance company and an attorney before informing the parents that their children had been killed. Meanwhile, the police were quickly at work and ascertained that the killings took place between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., all 3 children being held and killed in their own tent. Police interviews revealed that there had been eerie noises in the night. A counselor had gone to investigate moaning sounds at around 1:30 a.m., but couldn't locate the source. A camper in tent number 7 was woken half an hour later with a flashlight shone in their face. One girl heard a scream at 3 a.m., while another heard someone crying, "Mama, Mama." Even the sound of the girls calling for help couldn't save them. The tent flooring was covered in blood, and it appeared that the killer or killers had made an attempt to cover up the crime, trying to wipe the pools up with towels and a mattress. A footprint was found outside the tent from a tennis shoe. A different print was found inside. Other significant evidence found at the scene included fingerprints on the bodies, cord, duct tape, and a red flashlight that had been left on top of one of the corpses. There was what seemed to be a bloody fingerprint on the lens. It seemed that it would only be a matter of time before arrests were made. Questions asked of camp staff revealed that the slaughter may not have been a spur-of-the-moment opportunism, with some evidence that the camp had been watched for a while. Just 2 months prior, a camp counselor discovered that her belongings had been ransacked and a box of donuts emptied, the contents presumably eaten. Inside the box, a note had been left that stated, "We are on a mission to kill 3 girls in tent 1. The camp director treated the message as a joke. After bringing in tracking dogs, police believed they had found the murder weapon on June 16, publicly revealing it to have been a crowbar and saying that more fingerprints were found. While no suspects had been officially identified, the press were already speculating that an escaped convict by the name of Jean Leroy Hart may have been involved. However, the case was already beginning to break down, with internal tensions being very public. DA Sid Wise openly began to correct the record on Sheriff Glenn Weaver's statements, denying the murder weapon was found and stating that there were no suspects. Weaver claimed there was one. Just a day after the denial, Wise would say it was, in truth, several suspects. The murder weapon would eventually be said to have been an axe taken from the camp. Meanwhile, with the dog's help, police located a cave around 2 miles away that appeared to have been lived in. Inside the cave were eyeglasses stolen from Camp Scott, duct tape, a flashlight battery, and 2 photographs featuring 3 women that investigators linked to Hart. The cave was just 100 feet from a cellar and foundation that had been Jean Hart's childhood home. Writing on the wall of another nearby cave read, "The killer was here. Bye bye fools." Coming under increasing public criticism and scrutiny, a media blackout would be imposed on investigators. This general feeling soon began to boil into a tinderbox of racial tension as Gary Leroy Hart was allegedly spotted in the camp's vicinity. Jeff Laird, the director of the Osby, would call a press conference on July 6, stating that previous evidence believed to have been fingerprints had not been what the Bureau thought they were. Yet, significant evidence pointed to Hart's guilt. After local sheriffs also publicly stated the suspect was guilty, questions began to be raised over the possibility of an unfair trial should Hart actually be caught. Convicted of rape and kidnapping, Jean Leroy Hart had escaped Mays County Jail in 1973. Police believed the local Cherokee community had been sheltering him ever since. With the help of 40 FBI agents and $1,250,000 later, police tracked him down at a Cherokee cabin on April 6, 1978. It had been the largest and longest manhunt in Oklahoma history. While Hart had indeed been hiding among fellow Cherokees, members of the American Indian movement argued Sheriff Weaver had been trying to find a scapegoat among their tribe to pin the murders on. Nonetheless, Hart was transported to Oklahoma State Penitentiary and charged with 3 first-degree murders. The trial from March 19 to May 30, 1979, saw the prosecution argue Hart's eyeglasses were stolen from the camp and that hair found on the duct tape resembled his. The defense, meanwhile, claimed the glasses had been taken from Hart's previous rape victims, which Hart admitted, and that Weaver planted the rest. With waitress Dean Boyd testifying that she'd seen a nervous man at her diner 15 miles from Camp Scott on the morning of the killings, an alternative suspect emerged. Identified as William Stevens, the man was a convicted rapist who an 11-year-old camper had even seen on Camp Scott grounds days before June 13. Stevens' friend Duane Peters not only claimed that he had loaned him the flashlight found at the scene, but that Stevens admitted the killings to him in October 1977. Peters would allege that his friend had been working on an oil rig near Camp Scott and, having been raised in the area, knew that the Girl Scouts would be coming when they did. He placed the camp under surveillance, utilizing tactics that he had learned during service in Vietnam, and deliberately selected the most isolated tent for his attack. Covering the lens of the flashlight they had borrowed with duct tape, a small incision was made so as not to alert anyone else in the camp before entering and committing the crime. Stevens denied working on an oil rig, stated he didn't know the area, and even rejected borrowing the flashlight. State investigators noted that blood and semen samples had been taken from both men and ruled them out as suspects in the case. The trial's closing was ill-tempered, with shouting seen inside the court chamber and scuffles outside before the jury of 6 men and 6 women took just 5 minutes to find Jean Leroy Hart innocent of all charges. Hart was transferred to the Oklahoma State Penitentiary to continue his 308-year sentence for the 1966 rapes. He died on a heart attack on June 4, 1979, just 2 months after the conclusion of the Girl Scout murders trial. In 1989, DNA testing on samples from the crime scene would show that 3 of the 5 probes matched Hart's DNA. Well, what do you think? Was Hart the real killer, or was he innocent? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Till next time.